The warm Texas sun beat down on the dusty gravel road, just the way I remembered it. The familiar crunch of my truck tires against the dirt, the scent of sun-baked cedar, and the peaceful stillness of the air always put me at ease. My land, 6 acres of serene hillside, overlooking a shimmering lake just beyond the tree line. It was my retreat, my sanctuary. I had worked hard for years to afford this little piece of peace, and after burning out in the corporate world, I thought it was finally mine, a place to reset, recharge, and leave everything behind. For 4 months, I was on the road, doing what I needed to do to find some clarity, some sense of calm. But as I came around the bend and saw my land, something was wrong. At first, I thought I was seeing things, maybe taking the wrong turn. But as I slowed the truck and took a better look, my heart sank. There it was. A house. Not a trailer or a shack, but a full, 2-story home. Modern, sleek, with big windows and a carport. It wasn't just the fact that someone had built something on my land. No, it was the fact that the house was built dead center on what I knew was mine. My land. The very land I had spent years planning, marking, and staking with my own hands. I could barely process what I was seeing. My boots crunched against the new gravel driveway that shouldn't have been there. I pulled out my phone, checked the GPS coordinates against the property maps I had saved, and there it was, 2,000 feet inside my eastern boundary. Someone had built an entire house on my land. My blood boiled. Who the hell did this? Who had the nerve? I walked around the property, checking my old markers, the places I had marked years ago for my future workshop. Every reference point was gone, replaced with freshly installed water meters and new construction debris. There was a sign nailed to a tree, reading "Private Drive Coleman's Project." The nerve of it all. The audacity. I could feel my jaw tighten. This wasn't just a mistake. Someone had deliberately done this while I was away. I was leaving, and I wasn't going to just sit there and let this slide. The next morning, I went back to confront whoever had done this. I walked right up to the door and knocked. It opened almost immediately, and there stood the man who had stolen my land. He was in his mid-40s, dressed like he had just stepped off an Instagram post. A clean-shaven face, stylish Henley shirt, and a look of someone who thought he could buy his way out of anything. "Hey," he said with a wide grin. "You must be from the other property. Sorry if the trucks got in your way. They've been a little all over the place lately." I stared at him, then deadpanned. "This is my property." He blinked, confused. "I'm sorry. This is my land. You've built a house on it. I've got the deed, the survey, the permits. Everything." He squinted at the phone in my hand, then shrugged. "That's weird. My guy said this was all squared away. I bought this lot through a private deal. It's off-market." I couldn't believe it. He was acting like it was no big deal, as if we were just having a friendly chat over coffee. "No, you're standing on my land, I said, feeling my anger rise. "You didn't buy this. It's mine, and you've got no paperwork to back it up." He chuckled, leaning against the doorframe. "Look, I get it. Land deals out here can be tricky, but I had surveyors out here multiple times. I've got paperwork. Maybe you've got an older map or something, but the way I see it, this was just some unused brush. You weren't even here." I could feel the heat in my neck. This wasn't just some brush. This was my land, This wasn't a mistake, and this wasn't some miscommunication. This was a lie, and he was trying to get away with it. I stood there, seething, as he offered me $10,000 for a corner of my land, and even threw in a free consultation to remodel my cabin. It was a bribe, a slap in the face. He thought that if he offered me a little money, I'd just walk away. I didn't take his offer. Instead, he sent me a formal settlement offer in the mail. It was full of slick corporate jargon, the kind you only see in high-stakes deals. $10,000 in exchange for my silent and my agreement to never challenge his claim to the land. And if I didn't accept, well, he threatened defamation, trespassing, harassment. He was trying to scare me into giving up my rightful land. I wasn't going to back down. Then, things took a darker turn. 2 nights after I rejected his settlement offer, I woke up to the smell of smoke. I rushed outside and saw my old hunting cabin engulfed in flames. It wasn't just a fire. This was saw arson saw. Someone had set it deliberately. The fire department got there in time to save the cabin, but not before it took a toll. The back room was gutted, my grandfather's antique drafting table was gone, and years of tools were melted into slag. The fire marshal couldn't confirm the cause, but he didn't have to. I knew who was behind it. It didn't stop there. The saw vandalism began. Someone dumped trash across my driveway, spray-painted my fence with words like thief and fraud. A dead raccoon was left on my porch, wrapped in a plastic bag, like some kind of twisted gift. They were trying to break me down, to make me quit. But I wouldn't. It wasn't until a former worker from the construction crew, Miguel, came forward that I got the break I needed. He handed me a flash drive filled with everything I needed to take down this whole operation. Forged documents, altered maps, and even proof that Bradley Coleman had saw doctored building permits saw. This was no longer just a land dispute. This was a saw scam saw. With the EVY Denke in hand, we took the fight to the courts. Bradley had underestimated me, and when it came time for him to testify, his bravado crumbled. He tried to make up lies, accuse me of MOVYing the flags, and even claimed Miguel was disgruntled. But the EVY Denke was clear. The judge didn't waste time. She handed down a verdict. Saw Bradley Coleman was guilty saw of fraud, trespassing, forgery, and harassment. He was sentenced to saw 5 years in prison saw, and his house was ordered demolished at his expense. That bulldozer came early one Wednesday morning. No fanfare, no ceremony, just the slow rumble of the hydraulics and the sound of his house coming down, piece by piece. It took less than 2 hours to reduce his house to rubble. It felt like the weight of years of injustice lifting off my shoulders. I didn't want another house there. Instead, I planted pines, cleared the soil, and built a small pergola in the center, a place to sit, reflect, and remember. A sign now hangs above the archway, reading, Saw my land, my story, my boundary saw. The neighbors who once doubted me now wave with respect. I've even helped some of them defend their own land from developers like Bradley. And as for me, I've built something more meaningful than just a house. I've built a saw community saw. Now, I run a project called Boundary Watch, where I help landowners protect their properties from fraud and manipulation. We don't make noise. We make saw facts saw louder. So, let me ask you, if this was your land, would you have walked away? Or would you have fought like hell to get it back? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Was justice served? Or did I go too far? Thanks for listening, and make sure you share this with anyone who needs to know that sometimes the system works. But only if you stand up for what's right.